Welcome into the channel. Trade Instinct. This is Paramay. This is Paramay's Trade Journal. We've changed the name a little bit here. Used to be Paramay's Trade Journal, but it's Trade Instinct now. And I think we think that it has a little bit more of a market kind of resonance to it. So here we are. Corn. It's about it's Thursday, so it's the end of the week. But looking forward, we wanted to take a quick look at corn because this has been, something that's been developing over the last couple of weeks. We thought it was important to take a look at commercial interest, take a look at comms again, maybe look at some pivots and some price channels to see where we think corn's going within the next couple of weeks. So that's why I wanted to get a head start for all of you accumulators. I think that corn is in a good position of accumulation at this point. So I think it would behoove us to take a look at this chart. Just brushing up on commercial interest, something that we do. And if you haven't checked out the video on, the Friday roundup for grains, corn was at the top of the chart. So just sorting by our 6-month index here, corn has got the top spot over 100. So we haven't readjusted the index. We'll do that over the weekend. But 100 is where we like to see our index. 100 means that on the COT index or commercial index here that it's pretty darn bullish, and commercials have set a new net long high position. So very positive outlook. Anything over 80 is, warrants our attention. So anything on the top of this chart warrants our attention, considerably. And just below, and depending on the sentiment shift by commercial interest is something we like to see. So, S&P sentiment looking really good. Dow Jones looking really good. We know how those are moving, but look, here we are with grains, and grains is, the grain market is, if you play it, there's some good returns here. So, consistent sentiment shift towards net long positions would kind of give us that indication that commercials are accumulating here, both on the 6-month and on the 3-year index. So a little harder to push those numbers with the amount of data on the 3-year index. But looking back here, we're well up over 80 for the last couple of weeks. So let's just take a quick look at the chart. We think it's bullish. We think it's time to get bullish on corn, and for a few reasons. Just looking at our 1-hour time frame, so not even looking back at the last 3 years of data. Let's bring up our 3 chart though. Let's bring up the 3 chart with commercial interest so that we can see what's going on here. I do got some markers on here, so we're just going to have to ignore those for the meantime. And we are auto arranged. Let's take a look at a 3-year time period. And we'll just put comms into view a little bit. And we talked about this. Okay, so we're all marked up because we talked about this in our Grains Friday roundup. So we were very keen, very hip, very wise to what was going on with commercial interest here. And this looked like a top, right? Not only because of the price action movement and because of the whip back and forth when we got into this top, but comms were also not very optimistic up around the 450, 460 range. So comms not optimistic, and what happened? We turned the other way. So here we are now in a 3-year period. Corn has been hovering around this 215 range for some time now. 310, 315, and look how low we are. Look how low corn's going for here in a 3-year period. I think commercials recognize this too. And over the last 5-6 weeks, commercial interest up over the 80% index, looking really bullish. So now does this start to look a little bit more like accumulation going on in here? So we saw this turn too. Similarly, when price action starts to move down, comms start to get a little bit more interested in this, up over the 50% range, and now we get a little bit of price action moving to the upside. So we know what happened with the markets lately and what's been going on with the economies. So it's no strange coincidence that just about every commodity that we look at has had an awful sell-off. So I think we can come back up and re-challenge these areas. These long-term, this was back in 2018 at this price level. where corn had support quite consistently for some time before it took off, and then right about in that range again, and we can see that confluence going on in here. So what are we thinking on corn? I'm of the mind that this is accumulating nicely. That's what we like to see. Com's getting really bullish here. Open interest relatively low. WPR in the oversold range, and market sentiment damn near bottom. So this has taken some weeks to develop, but this starts to look a little bit more like accumulation. So we've got this, this downtrend look that's been going on for some time, and so we're looking at two different price channels here. One's got the horizontal look here. This is our price channel here with a point of control right in this area, with our our zero coefficient up here and our 1.0 and our 1.25 coefficient down here. Better buying opportunities down on the lower end of the range, and let's just dice this up on. Let's just dice this up on the old paint tool here. Oh, see, this is what we're working with here. So we had a nice downtrend point of control for a while. Here's where the control and price is. Seemed to be a lot of dogfighting going on in this area, before we lose it. And then we get a little bit, most of the price action is up above this channel or up above this point of control, and then sellers get really aggressive in here, and then we get that nice move out, that nice impulse move out. So this gives us a nice indication that down along, when we drew this up as our zero coefficient, we seem to be finding a base here in a new point of control that looks more horizontal than it does like a downtrend. So is this thing starting to turn the other way? So we've got our zero coefficient up here for the horizontal look, and we've got a new point of control to work with in this area, and this is starting to look like a shift, a horizontal shift, and the sentiment is starting to shift the other way. So if we look at the downtrend channel, better buying opportunities, obviously if you want to get long, either above the point of control, right on it in this case, or down on the zero coefficient down here. So better buying opportunities. So now we have a new established zero coefficient, and if this comes down here, you better believe that I'm going to be a buyer. I'm of the mind that I don't think that it's going to, though. So here's our zero coefficient. I'm sorry, your 1.0 is down here. Then your downtrend line, here's your zero coefficient. Good place to be a seller. Buy, selling up in here, get your short, or stack into your position for your shorts. It looked like it was pretty darn good, but now we're starting to trade outside of that and find support on it. So are we breaking out of here? It looked like a pretty decent impulse move out of here and along this point of control. So I think we can get a nice horizontal look, and I'm ready to play this channel. If it wants to come down here on the zero coefficient of this horizontal rule, or even on the point of control, I'm ready to play it. So the -2.5, typically in a strong downtrend, we would look at this place as another opportunity to be a seller too. So can this retrace a little bit? Sure. I'm not saying that it can't, but I would look to be a seller up in this area for the meantime until this thing decides to start moving out of here. I think with commercials the way that they are, with the amount of bullishness that they're showing down here at these price levels, that this thing is going to start to move to the upside, and they're going to start to get out of this channel, and we're going to start to find some support in some areas. And we've got to check these areas and find out where they are and start playing corn. Does the season, so if we look at a seasonal chart, does it also support the notion that this is starting to look a little bit more bullish here? Is this our seasonal chart? It is. I mean, look how terrifying this looks. For the current season. I wish I could hide these, so I don't really want to cancel them. But let me just look at the current season in place now, and it's probably one of the worst seasons that we had at this point in time for corn within the last 8 years. So this is an 8-year seasonal look. So is there a case for a strong rally? I mean, it doesn't look overwhelmingly good as a strong case. And it's seasonal though, it's seasonal. But with prices being down this low, good God, I mean, it's just, when's the last time it was this low? One season and 2 seasons, up in October, November? No, I'm sorry, September. That prices were this low. I mean, typically, a good majority are above the average, and we're so far below the average on corn. Man, look at all of the, the price action above for corn. So is this a good year? Is it a good year for a rally? A good time of the year for a rally? Let's make this a little bigger. Can we make a case? Can we make a case that corn may rally? Well, this one dropped off, didn't it? What else do we have going on in here? This is all we can do, right? Let's try to load the deck in our favor to see, is this a good time for corn to rally in this part of the season? And look at the distance between the average that corn usually trades at and where it is now. It's so low, so low. And we've got this, not the greatest, this cluster that seems to be hovering right in this area before a sharp rally. So, I mean, it does look like there is a few seasons here that do find a sharp rally a little later, looking like into June, but it doesn't mean that this rally can't get going sooner. Tough call here. I mean, there are, this was so much higher over the running average. We did get a little bit of retrace here, and then wow, corn sold off, quite considerably at this time of year. But is this one of a few seasons that we saw a downturn this time of year? I would think that with price as low as it is, so far below the average, with a couple of seasons at least indicating that there are some sharp rallies in here around June. Very sharp rallies, very considerably sharp rallies in June. Looks like June looks pretty good before, but then there's this big cluster too, right, of decline. So we're going to rally before we start to sell off, the corn sell off here. It doesn't look like a good time to be a buyer in this area, but maybe we can rally up into July. I like that notion. I like that idea. And considering the price of corn is so darn low, comms are as bullish as they are, and this pattern's starting to look a little bit more like accumulation with the horizontal channel look. So corn is probably something I'm going to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks. If it gets below this mark price, and it comes anywhere near this 1.0, this 1.225 coefficient, you better believe I'm going to be a buyer down in here. It would just be silly not to do that. I think a lot of the markets are sifting and looking for bottoms these days. Take a look at anything. Take a look at the currencies. Take a look at the indexes. They're a little bit more complicated of a chart, but take a look at gas. We've been playing gas, and gas has been on our radar for the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of whipping back and forth. We've had a really nice accumulating range in gas. It is April. There's whispers of this, there's whispers of that, with gas doing, whatever it's going to do. With the economy opening or potentially reopening. So, but we've got a similar, we had a similar look on gas that we play. And get down near that 1.0 and that 1.225 coefficient, you better be a buyer, because there's good money down in here. And these are the areas where it's good, better opportunity to be a seller along the zero coefficient 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before it finally got a pop and a break here. But now we're going to come back down and challenge the point of control. So we've got a nice horizontal look on a lot of the commodities right now that would suggest that we've got a nice bottoming look. Is crude giving us that sort of bottom? So we had argued quite a few times. I don't know who the hell was calling a market bottom here at $20. I really don't. It was absolutely absurd. This did nothing over here looked like a market bottom. And if you were following those fools, well, you deserve to get burned, because this is not a market bottom. Had a nice bounce. It was great, but you've got resistance in here. How you can call this a market bottom? So now does this nice W pattern, this nice bullish W pattern, look like a long position play for crude? Well, certainly did. This was a nice, strong bullish W, and this was a very nice candle down here. Rightfully so. Under $8, under 8 a barrel or whatever it is for WTI, down by 642. So nice bullish W, and it worked out for us. So these look, you can get these on the lower time frames too. You can get these on the lower time frames. And this was our call last week. We said, do you want to be a buyer just yet on Sunday when the market's open? I said, no, let's wait, because this made more sense, right? Well, why would you want to be a breakout buyer? Wait for a little bit of a reload here, and before they decide to chase it higher. So, has crude bottom? Maybe. With the economy, I don't know. Who knows? Whoever's listening to their fundamentals or whatever the hell it is, but I'll tell you right now, comms aren't bullish on this. Okay, so this video is on corn, and that's what I got to say about corn. So, I think this is getting ready to tool up. I think it's getting ready to go. I think comms are looking bullish. I think this is starting to look like a nice bottoming pattern. It's starting to look like accumulation. And you're going to want to be on the right side of the trade for this one. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is Paramay. This is Paramay's Trade Journal. And we are Trade Instinct now. So I've got to get used to using that terminology. But we've got a Discord group if you want to come and chat with us, talk charts, talk methodology, all that sort of stuff. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, hitting the like button, leaving comments. We really like those. I hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade, and we'll see you again on the next video.